Changing a rear shock on an 18 Malibu, Chevy Malibu. You're going to need a jack to jack up the car. This car has a hitch on it, so it's a lot easier to jack it up from the rear. If not, you can jack it up right behind there. There's a little lift point if it was going to lift. You're going to need a new shock that looks like the old one. It's easier just to get the top mount for a couple extra bucks. I have the luxury of an impact crescent wrench. You don't need that. If you watch the whole video, I'll show you where you don't need it. I torqued my wheels back on, plus torquing the bolt back into the bottom of the shock. 13/16 is the bottom bolt for the shock, and then I'm using the impact to take it off, and then a 15 millimeter, which you don't need that long of an extension, but I already did the other side, so them are the tools that I've already used. So here we go. Jack the car up first. You may need a bottle jack too. I almost needed it on the other side. Let's hope I don't need it on that side, and I'll show you where you may need it. Take off your wheel. Make sure your camera's recording if you're making a video. There we go. The shock is right here. In this car, it is leaking. See all that oil that's coming down? See how it's a different color right there? I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is fresh oil, and that's a spot where it hasn't gotten to yet. If you look in here, it has these junk things that go bad. That's where your 15 millimeter bolts are. I'm going to take them out first. So I got that extension, so I'm not in there with all that dirt, which doesn't bother me. But not using the impact here, they're coming out pretty easy. It dropped a little bit right there. I'll bring you guys back just a little bit. You're in my way. I believe all these are the same length, and they also have the alignment on the end of the bolt. I'll show you at the end of this video how nice it is that they use that style of bolt instead of a threaded tip bolt. There we go. 3 of them. This should just be able to pull right out. There you go. Now for the bottom bolt. So it's the impact right here. 13/16. I don't have a second one or a wrench that big, or I didn't feel like going and getting it. So this is going to go on the bolt head side, and then this is going on the nut side. Make sure you put your ratchet on the nut side so it takes the nut off the bolt. If you don't do that, then you're just spinning the bolt, and it takes a lot more effort. So I'm not going to have you guys down there with me, because it's just insane. It's a tight fit, and I got to lay on my back. I will take you guys down there and show you guys the bolt as soon as my tripod light pulls up for me. So I can't see what you guys do. Okay, there's the bolt. That's the nut side. You want to take that side off, and then you're going to want to hammer that through if it doesn't loosen up. That's why I loosened the top, so it'd be loose. On the other side, you will find it somewhere in there. I ain't looking down there. Is the other side that you put your crescent wrench on, or your 13/16 if you actually have the right size. Okay, I have you guys up like that. That's good enough. Oh, it is just dripping with oil. I have the impact, and it screws right off, but that isn't the problem. The problem is, which I know this one isn't because I pre-took the bolts out a week ago just to make sure I could do this in that person's driveway. There's the bolt. Here's the problem that you may run into, but I did not, and I can't show you how to do it because mine didn't have this issue. But sometimes you grab too greasy of a part. Sometimes, see that metal right there? That metal binds itself to that rubber, and when you try to spin this bolt, it's really spinning just that piece of metal. If you're not an advanced mechanic, you might as well take it somewhere, because this car, it's really enclosed and it's hard to get to. If it was on a truck or something, I'd just tell you heat it up with a torch. But on this car, it's very closed. But you can try it with a torch if you want. A little torch that you take camping or something. One of them little Coleman propane tanks, that's what I use. It doesn't get as hot as quick as a professional thing, but if you're only doing it once, why not? But you have to heat that up until that bolt can slide out of there. The reason the bolt won't come out, if yours isn't coming out, is because it's trying to pull that piece of metal and the rubber. Luckily mine don't have that issue, and you guys can see the grease. It's a bad shock. Now I got grease all over me. Let me clean up just a little bit. Of course the car's unlocked, and I can get in the trunk. The owner would let that happen. Okay, yeah, I don't like touching the fast GoPro with a dirty hand. Okay, so this shock I really don't like, the new one anyways, but that still has, oh, it's not coming back up. Yeah, it's super slow. It's still coming up, and the other one, it surpassed it. Yeah, it's all the way up, and the other one's still trying to go up. Yeah, that's definitely bad. No juices in it. I just touched all that grease again. So normally a shock has a wire going through from right here up here. If it has that, don't pop it out. It'll be compressed like that, because as soon as you pop that, it starts going out. Some shocks you can't compress back down. This one you can. So put the bottom bolt in first. Do not put the top one in first. It's just reverse order. I tighten it way down because it's metal to metal. There's metal on this side of that metal piece I showed you earlier that messes up, and there's metal on this piece. If you don't tighten that all the way and crunch that metal in, every time you hit a bump, the shock will hit one of these two pieces of metal, and you'll be like, what is that noise? So, gotta find my bolt. You can put anti-seize on it. Anti-seize. Just in case you gotta do this in another 100,000 miles. I normally use copper. Slides right in. Put the nut on there. I torque it. I do have a book coming in for this car. Amazingly, Haynes finally came out with a book for this. I'm probably going to torque it to 100 foot-pounds, same as I do my tires. Put my crescent wrench on there that no one likes. Tighten her down. If I can get that on there, right? There. Didn't sound like I did much, but it is a lot. Get in there with my torque wrench. Oh, Amazon brings me a package. Great. Hear that click? That's 100 foot-pounds. I can take that off there. We'll go a little bit. Pause the video for a second so I can get my awesome back. Okay, and then there's 3 bolts at the top, and this is where you may need your bottle jack. Good, mine are going to line up. Okay, so the reason they give you, well, the reason mechanics think they give us this alignment pin on the end, see the threads don't go clear to the end, is because that can be shoved in there. You can hammer it in. I would not hammer it in, but it'll pull the part to where you need it. Can you see it isn't perfect. See the black in there is where the threads are at. Isn't perfect. Somehow over here it's near perfect. So something got twisted there. So I'm going to have to loosen the bottom bolt. But if yours aren't lining up, try to line it up with this. You just shove it in there and it just gradually pulls everything where it needs to be, as long as you got that piece in where the threads are at. But if not, you have to put a bottle jack underneath here. Bottle jack, I use bottle jack. And jack this up, but don't jack it up too much unless you have stands on, because it may flip the car over a little bit. But lift this up and it will bring your whole shock assembly up to where that works. So I have one that's super close, so I'm going to try to have these that are, I'm going to put them in. There's also an alignment pin so you don't go too high, but I think that pin's ridiculous. For some reason this whole shock wants to, we're going to loosen the shock up on the bottom side. I think we should have tightened the top first, or second, but tightened it and then tightened the bottom all the way. Okay. Now you should sit over there and watch from whatever view I give you. There we go. Got that one in. Felt it get in the groove. Yeah, it's in the groove. I'm not going to tighten it down until I got all these in. I don't know how that one's in. Oh, it's in. So it looks like keeping that bottom main bolt loose made it so all this went in easy. You definitely want that bottom bolt in first though, or you're going to have to pull the shock down. And it's easier to jack it up than to pull it down. Oh, there, it pulled into position. Gonna tighten them up. They weren't really that tight when I removed them, so I'm just going to do them on strength tight. There, they're all tight. Now I got to go down and retighten the bottom. Then we have a new shock. Probably breathing right into you guys right now. Pretty good. Doesn't move. And you just do the reverse on your tire and it'll go as new. Oh, come on. There we go. If you have an impact, do not impact them right on. Screw them on first. That's how you break your studs. Now I would say this is a very easy job, but if you have that spinning bolt on the bottom, you're fucked. That's why I took mine a week off, or took mine my bolts out a week before. The bottom ones, I didn't do the top. Them never have a problem. But I did them a week before just to make sure I didn't need a shop doing it or something. And I would have even done it myself, but it's in the control arm, and the control arm is super protective of the bottom of that shock. Okay, I'm going to use the impact to just snug them up, but then I'm going to use the torque wrench to finish them. I go nice and slow, not to strip out the thread. There you go. Now you gotta lower the car to where it gets traction on the ground, or you're never gonna get over it. Tighten them. Should do it until I hear it click. Star pattern. There we go. You want to lower the car all the way back down? You push on it if you want once it's down to see if it bobs. Oh, it's a stiff car. There you have it. Placed in a shock on an 18 Malibu. And the other side is the exact same way. Thanks for watching.